I am Rabbi Michael Stroh. I'm a rabbi. Gene manipulation is a very complicated subject because it has the potential to go in different directions. In general, Judaism is very pro-health and pro-life, and therefore supports anything that is likely to bring health and life to people. But obviously, once you play around with the genes, you have the potential of creating people who are smarter than usual, who are more handsome than usual, who may even be very less smart than usual, and these people could be used as kinds of slaves to do a variety of kinds of things. So that it's difficult to say, are you in favor of a very broad topic? I think the answer would be yes. Judaism would be in favor of it within certain frameworks. I think the answer would be the same. Judaism is pro-life in the sense that what enhances life is something that Judaism stands for. Abortion under certain circumstances is permitted. Interfering with the fetus for a legitimate purpose, and that's where the discussion would go. What is legitimate and what is not legitimate? Interfering with the fetus would be permissible. In other words, if by genetically interfering with the fetus, you could eliminate a genetic disease, Judaism would be positive to that. If the manipulation is not for a legitimate purpose from a moral point of view, and more specifically from a Jewish moral point of view. Many of the things that are being experimented on now and even done were never anticipated before. And therefore, to answer these questions, one tries to make analogies between the way things were answered before and now, taking into account the new facts. But the overarching sentiment is that Judaism is in favor of people's health. The question will arise whether or not even knowing how to do that is opening a Pandora's box. But the research will enable you to do things that you shouldn't do, and therefore very likely somebody will do it. So if all of the negative questions can be answered properly, I think the answer would be yes. When it comes to something as personal as healthcare, I would think all people have the right and the obligation to become part of it. I am in favor of maximal involvement of people in things that affect them directly. I would think the involvement of all people, not just Jews, obviously, in a policy that has to do with health care would be a good thing. So therefore, if we take that, in general, Jews are people who involve themselves in things, and therefore, if there are opportunities to become involved in health policy, they will be present to express their feelings. Ways of doing it. Getting in touch with clerical groups and saying, would you like to present a position paper on this? Doing things in synagogues, churches, mosques, etc. All right, town halls in which people are asked to participate. Having such discussions in religious institutions as town halls where people are asked to participate. MPs and MPPs making themselves available, since they will be undoubtedly voting on some of these issues, mechanisms for consulting their constituents about where they stand on these issues. In general, Jews have been very positive to science and scientific research. Okay? There are parts of the Jewish community that are not in favor of certain kinds of scientific research. For example, there are parts of the Jewish community that would be opposed to teaching evolution. They're a small minority. In general, the attitude of the Jewish community, rabbis, scholars, is that scientific research provides truth, and therefore we have to incorporate this into our understanding of Judaism, of morality, and the way we look at things. In general, Judaism has not seen a conflict between religion and science, and has been able to adapt and use scientific truth. All right, so that when we found out that the world was not literally created in six days, for the most part we haven't had that much trouble with it. There's some who do, but for the most part we have incorporated the scientific understanding, recognizing that science corrects itself as it goes along, so that what was deemed true 100 years ago or 50 years ago is not necessarily deemed true now. But Judaism has been pretty good in its reaction to scientific advance. When these techniques become available, one would want to get in communication with a variety of different religious groups and bring them in on the information and the proper place to go, okay? And then we could hold workshops in which the information is provided to us. So if someone would come to see us and say, Rabbi, do you know where to go for such a thing? We can say, yes, here's the place. It's the same as when somebody would come and say, Rabbi, what do you know about Tay-Sachs disease? And how would I get tested? Well, since Tay-Sachs is a Jewish genetic disease, it would be good for rabbis to know something about it, and what to do, and where to go and get tested, and so on. But Judaism is not monolithic. We don't have one person, like a pope, who is considered to be infallible in faith and morals. Therefore, different rabbis have different opinions, where Orthodoxy tends to be the most conservative, Reform the most liberal, but on some issues, Orthodoxy would be very liberal as compared, let's say, to some parts of Christianity. All right? So what you are getting is not the ultimate truth with which there can be no argument. You are getting the opinion of the rabbi, and there will be disagreements among rabbis, and that should be expected. So when you ask the question, does Judaism approve? It's not simple to answer that unless it is so obvious. As we get more specific, and especially things that are new, it's going to become more complex.